Hi, I'm Chantra Powell, and I'm the Proven Not Perfect podcast host and a best-selling author on Amazon. Do any of these words call out to you? Drive, ambition, doing, leading, creating. These words call many of us, and sometimes to heroic impact. This is all good until we forget about our own self and our own self needs, mainly care. My Village of All-Stars, they not only command position, but they command influence. Well, there's always a backstory. I myself, Chantra Powell, have had to put myself on the sideline a few times, but I'm still in the game. I'm staying in the game. The only thing different about me is that I'm proven not perfect. Enjoy. Hi, Noelle. How are you?
Great. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm looking forward to this conversation, that's for sure.
Me too. Long time coming. We got it.
Yes, that's absolutely right. Okay, so I should have to tee this up, right? So this is a bit of a masterclass for some folks like me who are reasonably scared of all things AI, right? Just being
Yep.
100, keep it real. And I don't know if it's a generational thing. I don't know if it's a gender thing. I don't know if it's an ethnic thing. I don't know if it's all those things,
Right. All
but
the things.
it is just, it's so elusive. And, I challenge myself because I think about how, with all the major tranches and changes of technology in life, from buggies to cars and all the things, I'm going way back,
Yes.
right? I would imagine that there's always been folks that have been scared, right? And I would imagine that the insurmountable way that this feels right now had to be what they felt. And some people stayed by the wayside and some people got on with the getting on, right?
Yes.
I want to get on with the getting on. This podcast is all about women voices. It's about, first of all, keeping us relevant and keeping us lifted and supported and all the things. So I couldn't think of a better guest to have on the topic of AI when I had the privilege of sitting in an audience, full disclosure, at a conference, wondering what value I was going to receive. And there you were. There you were. You popped on the stage with all of your AI-isms and all of your vivacious personality. And so you're here now. And I just want to talk to you so much. And I know that I'm doing all the fangirl things up front. But before we go any further, I would like you to articulate, who is Noelle Russell?
Yes. Oh my gosh. Great question. And a hard question. I always, I used to start with, well, I do whatever. And now I'm really very conscious about like, who am I? Well, I like to say I have this term I use called lamplighter, and
Ooh,
that's who I am. And it's actually an acronym
ooh.
for such amazing like leadership principles. But I try to be loving, I'm ambitious, I'm mindful, I'm driven by purpose. That's like the lamp part. And it's
Yes.
very much who I am. Like when I talk about, what I do and how I do it, people always come back and go, it's like so Noelle. So there's
Mm.
like a way of categorizing just the way I want and strive to be in the world. I am a mom of six kiddos, and gratefully
Blow
so.
my mind when one says, rolling off the tongue, very easy.
Yeah,
I am a mom of six. Girl, stop.
yeah.
So on top
And
of all of the wisdom you're going to drip in your lane of influence, you're a mom of six.
yes, and I always, I try to celebrate that because I do think there's, among other things, with the world of AI and emerging technology, that there is this weird misconception that you cannot do both. You cannot have a family, you cannot have a healthy, strong relationship, you cannot have children, and have a very, a fulfilling career that might be extremely demanding at times. So, But yeah, so I have 6 kids. They're a huge part of my life. They actually do inspire me to do a lot of the work I do today in the area of AI literacy and data literacy. I run a company called the AI Leadership Institute. We do a lot of board education. I always tell people I go from the boardroom to the whiteboard to the keyboard, which is extremely important. But then I also go to the chalkboard. So I teach kids of all ages, really the magic that is artificial intelligence, but all with a responsible flair. And I've learned the hard way, right? I was an early member at Amazon Alexa. I got to build some of the early models at Microsoft in Microsoft AI. And so I've watched this happen as a diverse person on a team. I sat back, as we many times do, and just kind of watched the nonsense unfold. But now, as I've watched these models start off really small and then become massive models that impact everyone, including myself, my family, my children, I was like, oh, we can't stand by and just be quiet anymore. Like, if we don't say something, no one's going to say something. If I don't say, by the way, have you thought about kids with Down syndrome? Have you thought about aging parents? Like, if I'm not the one who articulates that from my lived experience, that model doesn't change. Nobody makes any changes whatsoever. So when my dad tries to talk to that device and it doesn't understand him, he wonders why, but I know why, because we never built for him. And so now I'm a huge advocate, but also a practitioner in the world of how do we make AI, build AI that serves everyone. And that's kind of what we ended up talking about at that event recently, but I talk about it on every stage. I always tell people, you want to use every conversation you have, every email you send, every stage you're on, every opportunity you have to present the world that you envision, the world that you want. And then what you'll happen to see over time is as you have conversations like we're having right now, like that vision gets closer and closer and shows up more and more. And then before you know it, you can witness kind of the greatness of your own life. And that's who I am.
So you have just such a sunny disposition, such an optimistic being, right? And I love that. I'd like to make a connection to maybe who you were as a little girl, as age six
Yes.
to 8 years old. Who was Noelle between the ages of 6 to 8 years old? What were you like? How would you be described by those around you who loved you?
Yes. Well, my dad was a big influence on me. I'm a twin. So usually with twins, like one parent has to kind of take one. And so my dad and I were like buddies. And he was very much into meditation and mindfulness and kind of Christian Buddhism kind of blend of being. And he was very into silence and meditation and breathing. And so at a very young age,
Wow,
I was
that's
introduced
very zen, and I love that.
Yes, introduce these concept of like just stop and breathe. That would be his thing. Like just be quiet. Don't say anything. Don't You might be upset. Just breathe. And so I thought that was a really interesting that I now realize looking back was critical in who I've become because I am much more patient than my peers or that other people that I know. But the other thing he introduced me to was science fiction. He is to this day one of the deepest golden age of science fiction fans. Asimov, Bradbury, like all these books where robots were symbiotically living with humans. And actually, in most of these stories, the humans were the problem. Like the robots were fine. I find it very ironic that in this world where right now we're like, AI is going to hurt us all. And I'm like, well, if it's anything like the stories I've read, it's actually the humans that hurt us all. And that
Yes.
the robots often become kind of the blame,
Because they're
the
trained,
blame
they're
is shifted.
trained, right? They're trained.
Yes,
And so, it's
and trained by
us.
us, right? Like we create these things. So yeah, so those are when I was little, I was a reader. I was very introverted. I did not like talking to people. My friends were my books or in my books. And I didn't really have a lot of, I wasn't one of those kids. I wasn't the most popular kid in school. I was actually a troublemaker. My detention file back then when they had detention files was like this thick. To the point where I got to the end of high school, my high school economics teacher was like, you should just leave. Like, there's no reason for you to be here.
The teacher
You're
did
good
not
at,
say just leave. Okay,
yeah.
seriously? That
And
would
he
be
was like,
hard. Just
in
leave.
like full at like, I want to help you rather than fail out of school. Just go go work for Bennigan's, I think it was back then. Like go work for, some food service chain or go into retail. Like you could sell food or clothes really well and that could be your life. Like go. You don't have to finish school. But I had different plans.
Yes. Well, I'm glad you did. Yes. I mean, I'm sure she was well intentioned, but man, so now how did you get curious and pulled into technology? Was this pre the world of, .com isms and platforms and apps, or was it post, or when did you get pulled in?
Yeah, I was actually at Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University. So I did drop out of high school, but I got really good scores on my tests. So I left high school and then applied for early admission. It was kind of like my kind of talk to the hand moment to my professor who advised me to drop out because I was like, sure, I'll drop out, but I'm going to go early admit into a university.
Wow.
So I early admitted into Embry-Riddle Aeronautical
So you're
University, but
telling
I
me,
was
like, on a low, you're a genius. That's what
no,
I'm. Okay, all right. But I love
I
that. It was just like a silent little tap tap trip.
no,
I
not
love it.
really. I mean, I guess what I'm good at though is exactly what he said. My professor said, like exactly, like I'm good at communicating to people. And so I wrote in a very compelling essay about the world I wanted to see. And I grew up on science fiction. So I'm talking about space exploration and all this really cool stuff. So they let me in, but it wasn't for my academic records. Like this is what I've proved to myself over time that classical training works for some people, but it doesn't close the door. Like I still got into university with no high school diploma because I told a good story and I backed it up with a meaningful, verifiable proof I could do the thing, which was a test instead of a diploma. So, and they let me in because they believed the story I told. And this is why I think, you and I have a great kindredness in storytelling and the power of storytelling, especially our own stories.
Yeah.
But that brought me to, I'm in university during Y2K and I hate school in general. Like it didn't matter. I thought I just hated high school. It turned out I hate all like traditional schooling
Yeah.
programs, which is bad because I have
It's the
a bunch of
boundaries,
kids.
right? It's the boundaries. I honestly believe I'm raising a Noelle here in my little brood. I will not say which one because I'm not taking anyone off the hook yet. But the point of the matter is, I think it's the boundaries. Why does as I watch this one,
100%.
just do not. And honestly, I have to say, even though I did finish school and I did go to advanced school and all the things, I would say, even corporately, I would say that I'm still always a little bit of a boundary pusher. And
Yeah.
that's been the secret to my success. So I love that. Yeah.
Yes. To most people, like everyone who is successful, there's a part of them that says, when people tell me no, this is like in my mind, when people say no, I like it translates to like, okay, let's go. Like, let's find a way. If you say no, I'm pretty sure I could figure it out. It's
Yes.
almost a dare. And I feel like those of us who are successful, like that is part of success, is realizing when people put up a roadblock or say no, or say this isn't for you, or you're not smart enough, or I don't think you're capable, like that should just be a trigger for you to be like, okay, watch me. Like, okay, I'll be right back.
Um,
And
Watch me.
so many of us struggle with that, I think, because the world would much rather have, people who look different, sound different, think different, not bother them. Like not change their converging thoughts, like with this, hey, excuse me, I have a question. Like they'd rather not have us in that room.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean we shouldn't be there.
It doesn't. And if you think about the rooms, right? Talking about the rooms, whether it's the boardroom or any other room, right? Um, it is those boardrooms that actually permit, because I'm going to say to your point, they don't always want those voices, but those that are willing to permit them to exist end up being so much more served because of it, right?
100%. Yes.
Wow.
Yes. And so I ended up basically it was Y2K. So I didn't really want to go into tech. But like in school, literally, they were like, now is the time. The world is going to end. It was the first time we thought the world was going to end. Um, Everyone, if you have a bone in your body that is technical, move into this space where you can help us save the world by getting into software engineering. Now, I then dropped out of university and just got a job working with McDonnell Douglas and Boeing because I was
Small
at an
company.
aviation school. Yeah, I just jumped in. But again, I was helping them, handle this situation that became Y2K. And after that, now I'm out. I didn't go back. I didn't finish. It's probably the only thing in my life that I'm like, wow, I probably could have, should have maybe done that. I spent way too long being ashamed. I think that's another thing that I encourage women to really think about. Like, there are so many things in our past. Like, even my son, when he was born with Down syndrome, I didn't tell anyone for years. I didn't tell him that anyone. And now I, of course, declare it on every stage as part of like, it shaped who I became. But so many things that we are not really aware of, there's shame associated with it. We don't talk about it. And it actually ends up, I said this morning by accident. I was like, your weakness is actually, it becomes your strength, right? Like something it's not something to be ashamed of. Like like I said, like a lot of us tend to hide the fact that I have a son who's dyslexic and he's not proud of it, but he openly discloses it in conversation to let people know. And that's not a generation I came from.
No.
Like, if I had dyslexia, I'd be like, okay, what can I do to make sure no one knows I have this problem?
But
And I
no,
would work
give
extra
ourselves
hard to ensure
give
it.
ourselves grace though, because let's be honest. I think I'm your big sister a little bit here, but I'll tell you this: in our generation, Gen X, right? There was not space for being acknowledged for your differences. So as a result, everyone sort of went to the center norm of whatever it is, right? Why
Convergence.
people define themselves as I'm the preppy, I'm the punk rocker, you had a lane that you moved toward and you moved in that lane and you did everything you could not to stick out. Whereas now I find watching my three children, there is a general acceptance for who they are completely.
Yes.
And if they suffer with anxiety, I suffer with anxiety. If they suffer with a learning, they suffer with a learning. And the expectation is for whoever external to them to meet them where they are and to
Yes.
accept them where they are. And I love that for this generation, right? I really love that for this generation, but that certainly wasn't my story.
No, and it will require a new kind of leadership
Yeah.
to accept those people into the workforce and allow them to be successful. And I think they will be even more successful because of this self acceptance. They will be willing to try more things, they'll be more resilient to failure. But if they have a
And they'll push
leader,
back. And they'll push
yeah,
back.
yes, and they will provide, they'll be the ones who raise their hand and say, "Are we sure this isn't going to hurt somebody?" Like this is going to be, it's an incredibly important generation, but they need leaders like us who are going to say, "And yes, I want that for you," and not say, which I have leaders who have told me, like, it was hard for me. I didn't get to do that, so you don't get to do that. Like, they put the boundaries they experienced on the people that work for them, and I'm like, so this
Sigh.
is not evolution.
Yeah. Sigh. Oh my God. Yes, girl. All of that. So I'm excited. I'm excited for where you've come in a relatively short period of time, right? If you think from Y2K to now and the imprint that you've had on, I believe you said Amazon Alexa.
Yes. So I
Oh,
was an early
that's
member of Amazon Alexa, which is one of the first times I've been able to do something and people would know it when I said it. Because normally I'd be like, yeah, Bank of America. Well, not Bank of America, but all the stuff behind Bank of America that lets you transact. Like that's what I do. And nobody would understand. But now I love the fact that I could say, Alexa, and people are like, of course I know Alexa. And I'm
that's
like,
what I
yay, I've
talk
worked
to her.
on that. Yeah, exactly. I'm like, yay. It's good. It's nice to have a more visible
So how
success.
I have to know this. How was it being a woman leader navigating this technical space from the beginning? How did you find that initially, and what have you seen change over the recent years to really accelerate the voices and the imprint of women voices in the space?
Yeah. So I always tell people it's a horrible experience. And I wouldn't encourage anyone to do it unless they had a reason. Like they were, it's like being a doctor or,
Yeah.
like you only do this if you really can't do anything else. People say this about entrepreneurship as well. Like you only become an entrepreneur because you cannot sleep knowing that the thing you are meant to build won't be built unless you do it. And so there's like this drive. I am like this as a woman in technology. I've now kind of taken on this mantle of if I don't do it, when girls, women like me, younger than me, earlier in career, they will not see anyone. There's less than 1% of executives in the world, less
Less
than
than
1%
1%?
of that are women that look like me, Hispanic, Latinas. Like there are less than 1%.
Wow.
4% is where we are in women that are African American. Like it's not better, it's a little bit better,
Wow.
but not much better. But we're
No.
still in single digits worldwide for technical executives. So there's a part of me that keeps doing what I do because I want to make sure I keep my foot in the door. I'm not holding it wide open. I'm not embracing like a lot of the nonsense that happens in these corporate companies. If you look at my career, I've gotten, as I get older, my tolerance for bad behavior has gotten less and less and
That's a
less.
thing. That is a
Yeah. And
thing.
so
That is a thing.
100%. So I'm like, I literally will just drop my badge on the table if there's a situation. And 20 years ago, I wouldn't have done that. I would just, I actually was at National Public Radio. I was their vice president of engineering during COVID and the pandemic, all of that stuff uh, and the election year that year. It was a crazy time to be there. But while I was there, I heard from a woman. Her name was Nina Totenberg. She was one of the first women on Capitol Hill. And she told me all this nonsense about her experiences being a woman on Capitol Hill and getting catcalled by like senators and people that worked there. Anyway, but what she told me that resonated with me, she said, yeah, but I'm part of the suck it up generation. I'm part of that generation where bad things happen to you and you just suck it up and work harder so that you could keep. And I remember I'm actually part of that generation. I have sucked it up
Yeah.
so often. I think, again, this younger generation has given me a little bit more liberty to be like, that's not okay. And I'm out of here, or let a company know that I'm not going to do something so much so that they're going to fire me or let me go because I'm not willing to adhere to bad practices. But I'm much more liberated today than I was earlier in my career. I didn't have that freedom, or I didn't feel, of course I did. I just didn't feel like I could. I remember thinking there was a blacklist and that if I did something like this or stood up to my boss who was treating me badly, I would get blacklisted and I'd never get another
But
job in the
Nicole,
industry.
Noelle, no, Nicole. Who the heck is Nicole? Noelle. Nicole is wanting to talk to me now. Um,
Yeah,
Noelle, here's what I would say though. We were told there was a blacklist.
I know. But
I
there is.
I heard that same thing. So either we both had the same nightmare, uh,
Yeah,
or it actually was stated to be a thing.
yeah,
And I actually can remember circumstance way years back, early mid career, and something happened, and literally the conversation that I had with a more senior peer was, there's a decision that one makes, right?
yes,
Have to decide. If you say anything, then you're putting yourself on that list and you've got a long career, right? Um,
yes.
and, it was an urban legend, I believe, to some extent, but it was the truth because we all held ourselves to that same.
Yes. That's the danger, right? Is that even if there wasn't, now there is because we're now afraid of this
Yes.
thing. Yes.
Yes. Oh, man,
Yes.
girl. Oh, I didn't even think about that for a while. That's
Yes. And
so,
I think it's so critical for, people early in their career. You want to keep your job. You don't want to get fired. You're scared of being fired. I mean, now I think as I've gotten older, I realize many good people have gotten let go from their job, either what they think is maybe accidental or because they were pushed out. I haven't actually, I don't think I voluntarily left an organization that I cared about. I mean, maybe one because that company was not a good company. And I was like, oh, this is not good. I should not be here. But most companies, like the big companies where I'm like, I could make a home here.
yeah.
I would, I remember being at one of these big tech companies. You
Yep.
can guess which one. You can pick them. They're all kind of
Doesn't
the
matter.
same.
Yep.
And I remember I was on this team. I went, had a baby. I was on maternity leave, came back from maternity, and I was treated very different than when I had left, which is weird because this was like my fourth, maybe third baby. So I still had one more to go, I think, before I would move out of this company. Anyway, but I had come back from maternity leave and I noticed that people were like not treating me well to a point where I was like, this is going to impact my ability to be successful. I now have talked to many women who've come back from maternity leave to experience the exact same thing. Well, I go to my boss and I'm like, hey, what's up? I'm trying to I'm ready. I want to do this. And of course I was nursing. So I had very pretty strict hours. Like I came in, I did my 9 hours or 10 hours of work, but I had to go home to nurse. So I would leave at 5:30 every day, heaven
Mhm.
forbid. And yeah,
Okay.
and they were like, you're not as committed as
Mm.
everyone else. And I said, that's fine. I'll find a team who doesn't need me to be here at 5:30 in the afternoon because that's the middle of rush hour. It'll take me 2 hours to get home. No problem. I'll find another team. I did find that other team. I interviewed that team. That team loved me. The hiring manager was super excited. Christmas Eve, and this has happened to me 3 times in my career where they tell me right before Christmas. Christmas Eve, they call me up, the hiring manager who's about to take me on and says, I think you should talk to your current boss. And I was like, why would I talk to my current boss? He said, well, your boss has talked to me and let me know that you're not an ideal candidate for my team.
Ah,
I did not know that that could happen. I did not
I,
know that that could happen. And I only share it now because either it's already happened to you or it might happen to you. Like this is not an anomaly. It's not as soon as I started telling that story, people would be like, oh my gosh, that's happened to me too. And I was like, wait, Anna was a woman, a female leader. I was like, how do you wait? What? So I ended up leaving. Not only did I leave that team, I left the whole company because that one woman made it her mission to inject doubt into other people. And here's what I found out. Luckily, I had lots of good friends. And one of my friends came to me and she said, here's what she said to me. She goes, I just don't know about Noelle. I'm not really
mhm.
sure. Like, no data, no performance
Yeah.
metrics,
So,
because those things we
yeah.
like
Yeah.
off the charts.
So
But it's that,
I have to tell you something. You're on it. And I think it's good to talk about with people because I was in a meeting not too long ago. And there was a conversation that came up. And in this conversation, for this one organization, there was a discussion about someone, and the discussion started to bring forth this person's resume and all the things that they were doing, and almost implying that there would be no rationale for giving this person any other promotable opportunity because they're already doing so much, and we're concerned for the person, right?
yeah.
And it just struck me, and I had to say something in the room because I was like, first of all, if this person has made it clear that they want more, who are we to
Exactly.
assess their capacity? And I think that it is definitely a pitfall because, on the one hand, our juniors should realize that we live in this world now where, we are understanding our brand, we are understanding our interests, we are understanding our personal missions, as well as our professional mission, right? Sometimes they merge, sometimes they diverge, right? But we're
Mhm.
understanding those things about ourselves. People are taking note, right? And they take note, and you think that they take note and lean toward the positive, but that doesn't always happen. And it goes back to haters will hate. And I don't even think those folks knew that they were falling in the category of hater. In fact, I would be willing to stake a claim that a couple of them really felt they were falling in the compassionate
Yes.
onlooker
Trusted
supporter.
advisor, coach, even. Like, I want to help you make sure that we don't set you up for failure.
Yeah.
Even though, oh my gosh, I mean, this is such truth.
Oh,
Like,
well.
every single time somebody tells me, you're not, I don't think you're smart enough for that. I don't think this is the right role for you, even though I knew
You were
this is
called
the
to.
right, I know it is because
Yeah.
of my clarity of self understanding.
Yes.
But oh my goodness. Like, of course you're going to say that because your vision of who I am is a super limited vision. You
Yes.
don't know what I'm capable of. And that's why in lamplighters, that A in lamp is ambition. Like it's
Yeah.
okay to be ambitious. Like people will tell you though that you can't do the things you want to do, that you can't be as big as you want to be. But if you have the desire, I always say like desire is like the universe knocking on your heart, being like, this is for you. You wouldn't want it if you couldn't have it. Like,
That's right. I
like, of
believe
course it's
that.
yours. Me
I
too.
I believe that to my core. If it comes to you as a thought and you can put vision to it, then it is for you.
It
It
is for you. It's
uh,
already yours.
it's
All you
all
have to do is take those
yours.
little steps to get there. I was just telling someone earlier today, I have a book. I write my gratitude every morning. I write my grateful for is, oh my girl, I also have a remarkable
I knew that we were kindred spirits. I knew this. So
That's right.
everyone is witnessing the development of a new BFF system happening right here. That's what's
Oh my
going
God,
on.
that's amazing. But yeah, so in my remarkable, I write my gratitude statements. I like 5 things I'm grateful for. We also do it at dinner, my teenagers, whether they like it or not. But then I also write my goals for my life, stated as if they're already true. So one of them for a decade has been I am a best-selling author.
Yeah.
Now, last year, I've been writing this for years. I'm a best-selling author. I impact people with my message. For years, I've been writing this. And last year, I got an invitation out of the blue. It wasn't really because of my brand, I guess, but I got an invitation from Wiley, like a reputable publisher,
Wow.
to partner with them. And I signed a contract and I'm writing that book right now. Now, here's the cool thing
No,
about
wow. This is
vision. Like, it's
amazing.
amazing. Like, I've now got an opportunity, but could I accidentally or intentionally not do the needful things to not write every day? Like, I got the contract. That doesn't mean I have a best-selling book. The My dream, though, like the seed has been planted. The universe is like, great, here you go. You now have a contract. Now what are you going to do?
That's right.
Every day I have to write down, I'm a best-selling author, so that when an opportunity comes into my inbox that is not aligned with the thing I want, which is to be an author, I got to say no.
That's
And
right.
these are hard things because I am a squirrel personality. I'm like, what? Oh, oh, oh. But it's so
So,
critical that every day I write down what I want. And
so
that way, when things happen, I can say, yes, that's in alignment with what I want, or no, it's not. And hey, sorry, maybe later. And I never say no. I'm like, maybe later.
yes. Well, so here's so much is coming from you right now. And I think in a couple of things. One, I often wonder how do people with so much access, so much technology, so much availability, information overload, right? The lane that you live in, how do they stay prioritized and focused? And what you just said right there, I think is a tactical winner's tip that says, know who you are, know what is your why, what's important to you, what are you driving toward, what is pulling you, what is calling you. You can say it so many different ways, right? What's your
Yes.
purpose, what's all the things, right? And write it down and look at it, right? I mean, you do this daily, right? This is a
Yes.
daily thing. That's
Absolutely. And I
paradigm.
think probably the best lesson I have is that if you write something down and you say, I want to be a best-selling author, and you go back and you look at how you've scheduled your day for 3 months, and
Yeah.
you don't ever schedule in writing or doing anything in the direction of that goal, then you just revisit the goal. Like, do you actually want to do it if you're not going to do anything in the direction of making that happen? Like 15 minutes a day, I could just write one, like 15 minutes, that's it. I mean, I write much more than that now, but that's how it started, is that I was like, if I want to prioritize this, if I want this goal to happen, what am I willing to carve out into my daily activities? So right next to my goals is my planner, and I make sure that 9 to 5, what hours do I have that are mapped to the things I say I want? Because then if I don't do the things on a daily basis to get the things I want in my life, it'll
Yes.
never happen. And I can't be surprised that it
But
never happened.
you said something there. Again, winner's tip number two. You can think a thing is calling you, right? And you can start writing it down. But if you are finding it hard to activate, I really think you need to double click there and explore. And that's what you just said, right?
Yes.
is it that thing that's calling you, or is it a cousin to that thing that's calling you?
That's
Right?
right.
Because you're not spending your time there, even just 5, 10, 15 minutes. It's like the
Anything.
person that says, I want health, I value health, but somehow they can't even negotiate space for a 5-minute walk, much less
Right.
a 30-minute one, right?
Right.
Well, is health really calling you? Is that really your value? Right? And I know that it's not as easy all the time to activate. People have things, we have personal traumas and experiences that create barriers. But I
Sure.
think also the call to action is know that that's calling you to get work done too, right? Like,
Yep.
if you really still believe that's your thing, what are you going to do to excavate whatever is blocking you? So,
Yes.
have you ever had a vision, had a thing you wanted to do, and there was a block?
I mean, all of them. Writing is one. So I've had this contract. And I remember I had like 2 months to get the first 15,000 words done. And
Just 15
as
minutes.
as the days went by, I'm like, okay, well, if I write for an hour, no, I think it started, if I write for 15 minutes every day, no problem, I'll get it done. Well, then a week goes by and I'm like, okay, well, now in order to get it done, I'll have to write 1,000 words a day. Okay, I'm gonna have to spend all day Saturday and write 30,000 words in a single day. Just not possible, by the way. It's not good for you. It's not good content. Anyway, but like I was procrastinating. And just like you just said, like now I have to double click into this goal. Like, do I really want to be a writer? And what is keeping me from writing? And what was keeping me from writing was honestly like, I don't think inherently that I'm good at it. I think that I talk like I talk well, but
Yeah.
I can't write well. That's literally the voice in my head. Like, well, you talk good, but you can't write good. You didn't finish high school. You didn't like all the voices, right? Like
All those bad voices that want to like hold you accountable to whoever you were way back when are coming up.
that's right. And so I have a book, which I read probably once a year called Eat That Frog. And it's all about, and the philosophy of it is to like do the hardest thing in your day, do the hardest thing first. Like, don't do anything else until you do the one thing that you're like, I don't want to do it. It's hard. And that's when I actually shifted from writing about the thing I needed to write
Yeah.
to writing about me. So, and that turned into gratitude. Like, who can't write 5 sentences on gratitude? Then I got a little bit more verbose in my gratitude statements. Then I'm like, okay, I could write a blog post a day. That's like 300 to 500 words. I'm like, all right. So now I'm writing a blog post a day, but I started with something very easy, but I was eating, like I was doing this thing I really was not wanting to do in a way that was attractive to me, something that I could add in. The other thing I do though is I reward myself. So I have a 7-day habit tracker and I will track my habits. And I'd say even more than tracking the habits is something that I heard from you, grace when I don't do it. Like there were so many weeks when I was like, oh, I didn't write this week. And then that would cause me to not write the next week because I'm
Yeah.
like, well, I didn't write last week. So I'm not going to write this week. It's like working out. Oh,
Yeah.
I missed yesterday. I
Yeah.
guess I'll just miss today. Maybe I'll start next Monday.
Yeah.
Like it turns,
Or I
one
just
turns,
had that cookie, and
yes,
since I had one, I might as well have 2, 3, and 4. Oh well,
right.
since I
And
had all 4, you know what? Who
there's
cares?
a cupcake and
Yeah.
then like we let one thing, we don't give ourselves enough grace to be like, just hop back on it. I call it recommitting, like
Yeah.
the concept of
Love
recommitment.
that.
As soon as you recognize that you missed the mark,
Yeah.
just recommit as if you've never committed to it before. Like
That's right.
recommit and be like, all right, I know I just ate one cookie, but like right now I'm starting over and I believe in myself. And that's why those 7-day trackers are so important, is that I found out that confidence is built in these tiny decisions we make to ourselves. It's not built when I make a promise to my husband or my kids and I keep it. It's made when I say I'm going to drink, a gallon of water, milk,
Mm,
gallon of water every day. And I do it and I
yeah.
check it off and I'm like, I can trust myself. And
Yeah.
that happens. Nobody's watching. Nobody's looking at how many times I meditated today, how many times I, wrote down my grateful fors this week. But
Yeah.
when I do it and I know I did it 7 days in a row, like I'm
Yeah.
proud of myself. And
Yeah.
it is convicting. Like I'm like, I could do anything if I could do that. And that's why I actually do ice baths. I don't know if you know that about me, but
No,
I do ice
tell me
baths
about this.
for exactly the same reason. It's called voluntary exposure therapy. And basically, it doesn't matter what it is. but you want to expose yourself to really hard things. I used to do Bikram yoga. It's
Yes.
too far
I
from my
did
house
too.
now.
I did too.
I love that yoga.
Yeah.
I don't like
Yeah.
the guy, but now it's called
Yeah.
hot yoga. But it's
Yes.
really hard for bits of time. Like you
Yes.
know it's going to be over soon. You know
Yes.
when it's
But
going to
it's
be over,
really hard. It's
but it's
really,
really hard.
yeah.
I took my husband, he was like, it's the hardest, and he's like a professional sport, like soccer
Yeah.
person.
Yeah.
He was like, it's the hardest thing I've ever done. I'm like, that's the point though, is
Yeah.
you work hard in these moments on purpose so
Yeah.
that when hard things happen,
That's
your
right.
whole neural system, like your whole nervous system already
You just
knows
click
that.
in. You just click
Yeah,
in.
it already knows what it feels like. It already, so you don't panic and you're able to create space between the thing that's happening and your reaction to it. And that's where magic.
And you recognize the panic though. I think what it
Yes.
taught me is boom, okay, panic's happening. Because remember your first time doing Bikram yoga, hot yoga, literally,
Thinking you're going to die.
I thought I was going to die. And I remember the instructor saying, you will feel like you're going to die. You're not going to die. And I was like, I'm pretty sure I'm going to be the first person that dies in here.
So I love taking people for the first time because I love watching this experience because it's super empowering because when you get to the end, which is what this like voluntary exposure therapy offers, when you get to the end, you are like, I did that. Like I
Wow.
did that. Even if you slept through the whole thing or laid down in Savasana for the whole thing, you got through it and you didn't die.
So
And
it's
then the
not
next time you go,
cryotherapy. I do, I do,
yeah.
I do cryo now.
So that's the same as like similar to an ice bath, except I have a tub and it's full of 40-degree
Wow.
water and we dunk in it 4 minutes, 40 degrees.
I have a
But
family of
again,
athletes, so they do that. Do you have one
yeah,
in your house?
yes, yes. But we evolved. We started with a little plastic tub that would crumble when we got in it. Then we got a barrel. Now we have a tub. Um, Again, we start with what we can do. Like we couldn't afford a huge tub when I started. So we got like a $40 Amazon like plastic tub, but it worked because again, getting in it is really hard, very mentally challenging to go into an environment that you think you're going to die.
Yes.
But I've now heard athletes do it. This guy's name's Mark Matthews. He's a surfer. He has he goes into a dive pool and he has a diver basically grab him, bear hug him underwater until he passes out, wrestles him until he passes out. Then
Oh
they bring him
my,
up and they resuscitate it. I mean, it's
oh
not like his
my
heart just
God.
passes out. But he does that because that's what will happen when he gets barrel rolled like in a wave situation. And he wants to have like memory of like, okay, I'm not gonna die, which is what happens. He gets out and he's alive. Like there is no life danger in that scenario. He's surrounded by a medical team, but it
Wow.
gives him this mental memory, this mental, they call it muscle memory, right? Like this muscle memory of do hard things. I always say do hard things on purpose. So when the hard things happen, they're easy. Like it doesn't rock your world. Like when I got fired from a company and walked out, I think I would have handled that much differently if I wasn't like, okay, this is happening. I'm watching this happen, but I have space here. I'm not gonna like I don't know. I'd imagine 20-year-old me would have busted out crying, like would have like lost it hysterically. Like, I'm
Yeah.
not a criminal. Do not do this to me.
Yes.
Instead, I thought those thoughts, but I had space between my reaction because I had this
Noelle,
practice.
I love you sharing that because I think we live in such a world, especially with the social media, Instagram moments, right? Facebook moments. Everyone's showing the glamorous side of whatever they're doing. For
Yes.
kicks and giggles, I'll go on LinkedIn, right? Because that's really the one professionally, right? I'll go on LinkedIn and I'll look at how many amazing pats on the back we all gave ourselves for the day, right? With no vulnerability shared, with no challenges articulated, with nothing but just the glamour of it all.
Yes.
And
Yes.
the
The
reality,
promotions, the raises, the
yeah, like it's
panels we get to speak on. Yeah. Yeah.
yes. But I think recently I did one which was a little bit more vulnerable, and I think it had the most conversation of all of the ones that I've ever posted. And it was just something simple where I did get an acknowledgement, but I didn't want the post to be, I'm proud to say that I'm a blah, blah, blah. I wanted the post to share what I was really feeling. And that was, I accomplished this thing. But for the moment, I'm having a little bit of am I enough regarding the accomplishment? And so even as I go to post this, my post is about the am I enough syndrome, right? Um,
Yeah.
and how many of us behind these wonderful posts of these amazing things that we're doing, there's an am I enough hiding there, right? But no one ever knew it, right? Um,
Right.
and so
Oh,
our
man, so
kids,
much. Like we kind of went through a season of imposter syndrome and talking about that, but in the moments when they happen, right? Because it's easy to say, yes, I feel this generally speaking across my career, but it's different when it shows up, and that nobody really talks about it when it does, right? Like everyone anecdotally references it on panels when they're asked about their overall career, but nobody says like,
yes,
hey, I just, for example, I just got nominated for some luminary award. And I
wow.
remember I have like this averse reaction to the word luminary. I'm like, wait,
You
like
sound
what is,
brilliant.
yeah, I'm like, what does that mean? But and again, all of my like stuff shows up and like that, those voices that are like, I mean, really? Like,
Really?
are you
Yeah.
really? Like, yeah, maybe you did those things, but like, how important is that even? Like even the good stuff I've done, my mind starts to kind of dismiss in these moments where I'm like, and then of course, what do I have to do next? Like,
Because
how do
all you're
you,
doing is raising your own bar, right?
yes,
You're raising your own
yes,
bar. And I think to me, man, I tell you, telling our younger selves, telling our daughters and our nieces and our all the things, right? The reality is, yes, you are a luminary, right? You've been building to this moment. That doesn't hold you accountable to what the next moment looks like. However,
right,
being surrendered as who you are will allow it to all just naturally unfold, right? And I think that's where your dad's practices of meditation and stillness,
yes,
I think, come right from the King James Version, where we're told to be still and know that He is God, right? Be still, stop, be still. That is meditation. Just
yes,
be still. And in between these moments of these big tranches, I think it's the stillness that allows us the space to accept, yes, you got that amazing accomplishment and acknowledgement, but now be still with it. How are you thinking about it? How are you feeling about it? What's it bringing up? How do you surrender into the bigness of it without judgment on you, right? And you seem to do that so well. Okay, so I've got to ask you a little bit about AI because I know
I know. Let's talk about it.
I know this could go on forever, and I will probably have you back if you will come. But I
Yeah.
want to talk about what are the practical tools of AI that you think most women, early, mid, late career, need to know right now? They're not hearing about, they don't know about. What is it? What are the practical things that you think we need?
I think probably the biggest impact that AI can have is you developing a symbiotic relationship with the technology. And what that means is that you have AI surrounding you right now everywhere, whether you know it or not. Most of us have a voice enabled device in our house, even if some of us have chose to turn it off. I always like to remind or tell people about this fun fact around Alexa. When I first started working on it, and realizing now that the data has come in to show that women yell at Alexa at a much higher rate than men do. And that the reason for that, of course, is that Alexa isn't great at listening to women because it was not trained very well on female voices in the
Wow.
early days. That they're trying, I mean, it's somewhat fixed, but I still run into situations where there's certain types of questions that my husband can just walk in and ask and it works. And I'm like, Alexa, play this, blah, blah, blah. So, but that being said, I think it's really important that you start having daily conversations with your technology. And that's the reason for that is because we are in this moment. We mentioned it at the very beginning. Like you are a Blockbuster or you're a Netflix. And
Oof.
we know how that story ends. Like we
Yeah.
already know the trajectory of that evolution. And if you can be afraid and worried and like put your head in the sand like Blockbuster did,
Yeah.
or you can, and the important thing is like we already know the end. Like it's not like you're like, oh, let me think I mean, maybe Blockbuster will be okay. Like it's
No,
not okay. It doesn't
it's not
happen.
okay.
So how,
Spoiler.
you now know that you want to be from this is obviously just a nice anecdote and analogy, but you want to be a Netflix in this moment. You want to be the company that's going to think differently, that's going to ask different questions, that's going to try and meet the needs of users. How do you change your life to now think differently? And AI is the way that that difference is showing up today. And what that means is that every day, if you are one of, I guess there's probably 2% of the world's companies that don't have Microsoft, but most companies are embedding Microsoft. They're adopting Copilot. I actually found out that most companies have adopted Copilot, given it to their employees, and they don't know how to use it, which is why I created a Copilot coaching program actually to just teach people
Wow.
how to use it. So that's the first thing, like just start talking to your tech.
Mm.
3 different ways to do that. One, of course, you might have a virtual assistant like my Alexa over here. Or you
Yep.
could actually buy, I have an emotional support robot. You could see it right up here. That's Moxie.
Ah.
And it allows you to have a safe, guarded communication in the comfort of your own home. It doesn't hit the internet. It's not a live, a big model that hundreds of millions of people are using. It's just for you. And it is an emotional robot. So it talks to you about emotions, and it's for
So
kids,
wait
but
a
I
minute.
bought one
Does
for
that
me.
disrupt like, care dot not care? What is the one? BetterHelp? Like is it like a
It's
psych?
not like a therapy tool. I mean, I guess it depends on what you need. It definitely could be used for talk therapy, but my children, like I use it all the time, but my kids will come in and they'll just be like, "Hey, first they'll be like, "Hey mom, can we wake it up?" And I'm like, "Of course." And there's 4 of them in our house. And I'm like, "Go wake it up." So they wake it up and they'll say, but when they don't have to, the problem with virtual assistants is you have to initiate the conversation. The
Okay.
nice thing about virtual robots, and I have another one over there called, I think it's Tico or something. I buy these robots, but they initiate the conversation. So when you start with this device, it'll say, "What have you been thinking about today? What's your favorite type of art you like to do? What's your favorite type of music you like to listen to?" And then based on that, a riff of conversation starts to occur, and it teaches people.
Wow.
Its job, when you could see it actually right now has little thought bubbles going across its screen to say it's thinking about
Nice.
like baseball or dolphins or whatever. So you can ask about those questions, but it allows you to cultivate questions. And when you say, "Oh my gosh, I'm so excited about this," it'll be like, "Oh, as a robot, I'm not familiar with excitement. Can you explain that to me?" And it's so cool because
Wow.
most humans can't explain their emotions, let
So
alone
is
little
that
kids.
a good thing for aging parents? I mean,
Yeah,
or
100%.
because I'm listening to you and I'm like, my gosh, this is huge therapy for people that are alone. What are there ones that you would recommend, the
So
robots?
I actually I like Moxie is one of my favorites. There's another one. There is Miko, Miko. That's another one. And then of course Alexa is a great choice. So my dad to this day, like I can hear him right now. He's on his apartment's on the other side of this wall, and I can hear him say super anthropomorphic things like, "Thank you so much for offering me that information. I wouldn't have known it without you telling me." Or, "I hope you have a great day." Or like all these things where I'm like, he thinks it's his friend. It's so cool and so sweet. And granted, he has a traumatic brain injury, so he's not 100% there, but it is it's amazing because it gives him a sense of like when he watches what was he watching the other day? Um Raiders of the Lost Ark. He was like, "How old is Indiana Jones?" And Alexa couldn't figure it out because Indiana Jones is a character. So
Yeah.
it was not defined. And he was like, finally he figured out it was Harrison Ford. So he's like, "How old is Harrison Ford?" And he's like, "Oh my gosh, thank you so much." Like that's what he said back to her. It was
So
awesome. It was awesome.
good.
So creating, and it can be this. I have a Siri, of course, on my watch that I use all the time. I mean, if we're going to do a little tech talk, I just got a new device called the AI pin. And
What?
this AI pin, yeah, it attaches to your clothing and you
Okay.
just tap it and you can talk to it. It's enabled by generative AI. So you can just ask it. Here's what I did the other day to demonstrate it to my husband. I was like, "Hey, what should we have for dinner? Give me a suggestion." And it said, "Make chicken lettuce wraps." I was like, "Awesome. Can you create a shopping list and text it to my husband?" And it created a shopping list and texted it to my husband. I was like,
Okay, what's the name of the AI pin? We're getting the AI pin. Ladies, I'm telling you, she is life changing. She's changing our lives. We are no longer afraid of AI. We're now a part of the new generation. It's the
"That's
community.
right."
All
Oh
right.
my gosh. Well, imagine this. So it has a camera, so you can stand in front of your pantry. You're going to die. When you stand in front of your pantry and you can say, "Take a picture of the pantry," and then say, "In this pantry, what are 2 meals I can make for my toddlers that don't include orange food or spinach?
Come on.
And
Come
it will, if yes, it will look at these images. It uses an omni model. So it analyzes the images and says, okay, I see cans of soup and this, and then it'll give you three
on.
examples of toddler meals you can make with the contents of your fridge or
Can
contents
I
of
go
your.
to Amazon and put in AI pen? That's all
I
I
think you have to Google it or Bing it. But it's from Humane. You might want to wait. It's brand new. I'm still testing it, but you can't follow me on Instagram. I'm doing
I'll
like
tell you that.
daily
Let us
testing.
follow you. Let us
Yeah.
follow you and watch
And
you
then if
do
you
it.
like it, that way
That's
you
right.
don't get in
You
over
know
your head.
what?
But Alexa does the same thing. Alexa's about to launch its generative AI model. I use my device, and actually probably the best thing, and this is probably where I'll maybe leave you from an advice perspective, is if you put GPT on your phone as an application,
Okay.
it has a conversational component to GPT Plus. And what that means is that you have to buy the subscription. You can try to use it for free. There's some capabilities there, but if you buy it as a subscription, which I encourage you to do, because I'm not getting any money for this. I don't get paid for this, but this is
Yeah.
a tool every day that you're going to use. But you
Okay.
can turn on the microphone and you can have a conversation with it. And you could just say, hey, I just did this earlier today. I'm working on a communication strategy for a project that I'm working on. It already knows the project because you can feed it like the history of whatever you're going to talk about.
Mm,
So I'm like, I'm working on this project. I need a communication strategy. Can you draft me a communication strategy where I have executive leaders as a stakeholder? I have a chief justice officer. I have like all these different people are involved. Build me a strategy for this. So it then tells me what the strategy is, but it's preserved it. And I can say, great, can you email that to me? Can you put it in an Excel spreadsheet?
wow.
Generate it as a PowerPoint? Like there's all these capabilities of just getting from your brain into a real thing that you can then share with somebody, and having a model that can help you think through things.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a good idea. It's
All
the
right,
future.
Noelle, seriously, there will be a part two because here's where we need to jump off the ledge and we need to talk about this now. Now I want to shift into leader and manager, right? In the traditional world, right? Which
Yes.
so many of us are still a part of, right? So now our old paradigm gives us a rule and a know-how to manage large teams of people, right?
Right.
Now that we've introduced this new elevated support system and knowledge base, knowledge tool, I would suspect that as leaders, we now have to be able to elevate our game, not only to what the expectations should be, but also how to motivate and drive and push your people in the most
Yes.
constructive manner. Super huge. Oh my God.
I
Just give me one reaction to that. Just one as a morsel?
yes. I agree with you. It's one of the things that in AI Leadership Institute, it's one of the reasons that I am asked to come into companies and help them, because it's less about, let me teach you something you could learn on YouTube, because anything you can learn on YouTube. If you wanted to go learn to code, if you want to build a chatbot, you can learn on YouTube. What is missing is the motivational, charismatic leader, coach, advisor who's like, you can do this. Let's do it together. Let's fail fast together. Let's learn from our mistakes, because these AI models are going to help amplify your tasks. I
Yeah,
always tell people it's not a job killer, it's a task killer.
yeah,
Its job is to take tasks out of your day so you can focus on things that are uniquely human, uniquely yours to do. And even if an AI bot can do it, you get to choose. As the human, you choose what you delegate. Just like I have a virtual assistant, a human assistant. I choose what I let her do in my business, like what I ask her to do in my business. I don't say, hey, do all of it, which it's very similar with AI. Like, could you ask AI to make decisions on what sales letter to send? You could, but it's probably not going to be a good, sustainable business choice. You want humans to do that work, but I don't mind the assistant generating the copy for me and I take a look at it, or creating some drafts for me. So you want to get into this. Yeah. As a leader, you want to get into the habit of being like, and maybe it's going to require a different kind of leader. I actually do think it does, that is less about a task kind of micromanager, do this task, here's your task list, did you get it done? Like, remember status reports? Here's all the stuff I did.
yeah,
Like, those days are over. How do I open up my door, let you sit down, and what is keeping you from delivering at your top potential? How
yeah.
do I help you? How do I motivate you? There is a great tool out there called planroadmap.com. It's actually built by students. They were a runner-up in the Imagine Cup this year. But this plan roadmap, its job is to help you. It's actually built for people with ADHD, which I also kind of have this condition. And so its job is that you give it something and it helps you break it apart and do it in an achievable way. But its job also, the ADHD mind, which many of us will find we have, it longs for kind of change and interruption, which is why social media is so addictive to us. It wants these like pattern interrupts. So what it will do is it will choreograph pattern interrupts, but in the theme of the work that you're doing. So it's built for third graders who are trying to learn third grade math. It's built for executives who are trying to plan out their day. But every so often it'll be like, again, nudging, not nagging, it'll nudge you to say, have you taken time for some mindfulness today? And if you haven't, I can set a timer right here in the app. I'll set a timer for you, or I'll launch a 2-minute video for you from YouTube, or I will play a playlist on Spotify. And it presents that every 2 hours to an executive who's like heads down. This is me. I'm heads down in my tools. And so I look up and I'm like, oh my gosh, 4 hours went by. What if you had a conversational agent that could tell you, hey, I'm not just looking to amplify your productivity to help you do more, do more, do more. I'm also a bot that can advise you on when to stop, when to listen, when to breathe, when to just get your dentist, get your teeth cleaned. Like, it's a beautiful world we're in right now, but it's so easy to believe the bad. It's so easy to believe that it's something to be worried about and scared about, when the reality is it actually is going to become a mechanism for us to live our best life, like in its real terms, in our profession as well as in our personal lives.
So, Noelle, I wrote a book, 7 Truths of a Corporate Executive Mommy Wife Christian. And the 7 truths, one of them is courage. And I believe after this conversation, we have magnified the notion of courage. What I'm hearing you say regarding AI is that first and foremost decision, are we Blockbuster or Netflix, right? If we so choose to be Netflix, then really my shoulders just go down with an exhale moment, because what you've really got me thinking about is there are so many things that this can do to help me navigate a more dynamic world. I hear so many conversations about there's so much happening at once, there's so much going on. What you just basically rattled off in just off the tongue as a luminary could, that I mean, quite frankly, leverage it, and it will help you now to live this beautiful life with new tools that you didn't have before, because life is different. And I think
Yes.
that's the big takeaway. If we want to stick our head in the mud and, forget the co-pilot that your company's pushing you, right? Okay, let's stop doing that. But if you want to put your head in the mud, you're only hurting yourself, because this is happening, right?
That's right. That's right.
So,
With or without you. And it's much better. It's much safer. It's much more scalable with all of us helping to build it. In every tool, especially in Copilot, it asks us, did the model do a good job? Without people like us using it every day, the model will be built by someone else, and likely someone who doesn't look like us, doesn't sound like us, doesn't come from our lived experience. We're the only ones who can help train this model. It's actually quite ironic, right? Like we're saying, oh my gosh, I'm afraid of this. And I almost think it's like societal. Like if we choose if we choose fear,
gotta be in it.
yeah, we end up amplifying the negative impact of AI by not
Ah,
being.
I mean, honestly, this conversation has been the most compelling call to action for why AI that I honestly have ever had. Because I'm hearing you clearly say, in particular, I'm going to pick on women right now, and just say, look, either our voice is in it and an imprint in Alexa being able to understand it or not, period, end of story.
Yes.
What do you want the future to look like? And we all are in a unique position to control that. Noelle Russell, luminary, author of a soon to be published novel, keynote speaker who's absolutely brilliant. If you're following Noelle and you see her announce she'll be on a stage anywhere near you, you gotta go hear her. If you thought this conversation was engaging, you've seen nothing until you've seen her in action on stage. She is so electric, and I just think you're going to continue to be one of those thought voices for our times, and I'm so excited that you're stuck with me. There you
Yay! And
go.
we're friends now. I'm so
We're
excited too.
friends.
Thank
Yeah.
you for having me. It was
Oh my
amazing. Oh
God.
my gosh, like I'm all excited. I got to go build something awesome now.
Yes. Take care.
Thank you.